Hello everyone. This week's video is the first part of the North America sector, specifically featuring York and the Quebec quadrant. With that said, let's get started. The North America sector. The territories in the North America sector include what was once the United States of America, Canada, and Greenland. With the exception of the Far East sector, it is the most technologically advanced and self-reliant of the surviving world nations. Lost in the primary assault was the western east coast of the entire continent. Wasteland and desert stretched from Alaska to the Fiji Peninsula, and what was the states of California, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, I'm dead, Nevada, Arizona, and parts of New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming. Likewise, the entire eastern seaboard extending west through New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and parts of Michigan, Ontario, and Quebec are nothing more than mangled cities and parched earth. York. York is a self-proclaimed barony, I can't pronounce that, and rejects all ties with the United Earth Government and the RDF. It is a large industrial community of 18 million humans. The people of York are mostly bound by fanatical anti-Zentradi sentiment. It is these emotions which have driven York to proclaim its sovereignty, for they cannot and will not accept the United Earth Government's campaign to micronize and adapt Zentradi into human society. Any person found to be a micronized Zentradi is executed as a spy and a threat to world security. Despite the fact that the Zentradi in their own right are victims, York cannot and will not forgive the Zentradi for what they have done. In some ways, you can't blame them. Now, I said that the Soviet Union is my favorite antagonist within the game, but York here is another good antagonist. Mind you, they're a little bit isolationist, so they're only useful as antagonists in certain areas. Industry. York is the equivalent of the late 1980s. Its military is strong, with armored divisions of 1,200 tanks, which are on page 76 of the first Robotech book, 300 AAR Recon 2s, and a varying of trucks and other vehicles. Its air force contains 60 Commando assault helicopters, 172 modified turbofan jets, 36 Falcon fighter jets, and a varying of cargo/transport type helicopters and converted non-military aircraft. York is in the market for stolen mecha. Thus far, they have not been able to acquire any. The Soviet Union have the black market sources tied up. This is part of the reason why I said York is only usable as a protagonist in certain areas, where the Soviet Union is usable everywhere. Still a pretty good antagonist if you're somewhere in America. Military expeditions, large and small, often explore the neighboring wastelands in search of Zentradi prey. They react with extreme hostility towards any RDF. Quebec Quadrant. The Free Nation of Quebec is another self-governing territory vehemently opposed to the United Government unification movement. Unlike most of the world's military independent nations, the government of Quebec is fairly pacifistic and has adopted an isolationist policy. Quebec's reconstruction operations are slow and spotty, with the bulk of its 6 million people living in or around its 6 major cities, located in the southwest part of the quadrant, near what was once Montreal. The industrial levels are about equal to the 1980s, and a satisfactory agricultural network enables Quebec to maintain its independence from the rest of the world. Now, what does this mean from game terms? Well, it means that Quebec isn't much of an antagonist, and since they're isolationists, it's not really like you can go there for doing much trade. I mean, I don't see why they'd keep you out, but they're not going to really be that friendly towards you either, so I don't know how much help they'd be if you were in a bad situation. But with that said, no matter how independent you are, somebody else always has something you're going to want and or need, so might be some wiggle room there if you can think of something good that Quebec might want. The military has been placed in the capable hands of the Zentradi commander. I'm not even going to try. And his micronized legion. The Zentradi commander and his men are completely loyal to the people of Quebec. Military forces contain 72 tanks, 220 Land Rovers, 56 Adventure Lid? I'm pretty sure I'm reading that wrong. 32 Sea Serpent helicopters, 40 Falcon fighter jets, and a varying of trucks, transports, helicopters, and vehicles. It is suspected that as many as 300 Zentradi, full-sized and micronized, live in the undeveloped northern part of Quebec. The government is making humanitarian efforts to bring them out of the wilderness and into society. Note, an independent political entity supports the anti-unification movement. And that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. The next video will be about the SDF-1 and the RDF. Hope to see you there. Have a great week.